Welcome to Karma's Harvest. They say we should be careful what we wish for, because the universe might just give it to us in the most twisted way possible. Daniel spent years erasing his true self, to become a ghost of someone else's luxury. But when the light of the screen fades, the shadow that remains is often a monster of our own making. What happened next in that dark, moving SUV was the beginning of a nightmare Daniel had literally scripted for himself. The men in the suits didn't want his apologies, and they certainly didn't care about his real identity. To them, he was the digital ghost who had laundered millions for Julian Vance. As the car pulled into a secluded, rusted warehouse on the edge of the city, Daniel realized a terrifying truth. The more he screamed that he was just a poor filing clerk, the more his captors laughed. They showed him his own Instagram posts, the ones where he bragged about hiding assets in plain sight and playing the ultimate game of chess with the banks. He had written those captions to impress strangers. Now, they were being used as a confession for crimes he hadn't even committed. "I was lying!" Daniel sobbed, the cold concrete floor pressing against his cheek. "I don't have the money. I don't even have a passport." The leader of the group, a man with eyes as cold as a winter grave, leaned in and whispered, "That's the beauty of it, Daniel. Or should I call you Julian? We know you're a fraud. We've known since the first month." This was the first twist that shattered Daniel's mind. The creditors weren't fooled by his pictures. They had been watching him use Julian's identity as a decoy. The real Julian Vance had paid these men to let Daniel keep posting, to keep the trail warm, while the real billionaire moved his assets to a non-extradition country. Daniel wasn't a master manipulator. He was a sacrificial lamb, groomed by the very man he was trying to mimic. But the harvest of karma has a way of reaching everyone involved. Just as the men prepared to dispose of the decoy, a phone rang. It was news from overseas. The real Julian Vance, while attempting to flee on a private yacht, had been caught in a storm not of nature, but of his own hubris. The yacht's engines, which he had skimped on, maintaining to save his stolen cash, had failed. He was gone, swallowed by the ocean he tried to cross. Suddenly, the men in the warehouse looked at Daniel with a new, predatory hunger. With Julian dead, the legal authorities would now look for the only Julian Vance, left on record, the digital one. The men realized that if they forced Daniel to sign over the phantom accounts he had claimed to own in his posts, they could claim the remaining bounty before the government froze everything. They forced a pen into his hand. Daniel looked at the documents. They were the very same filing papers he used to organize at his old, boring job. The irony was a physical blow. The mundane skills he hated were the only things that could now save his life or seal his doom. He realized that if he signed, he would become Julian Vance, legally inheriting $80 million in debt and a lifetime of running. If he refused, he would die as a nobody in a warehouse. He chose to sign. He chose to live the lie to the very end. Today, if you visit that specific luxury resort in a country with no name, you might see a man who looks remarkably like the late Julian Vance. He wears the gold watches and drinks the vintage cognac, but he never leaves the hotel grounds. He is a prisoner of his own stolen image, guarded by the very men who kidnapped him. He has all the wealth he ever dreamed of, but he cannot spend a penny of it, and he can never use his real name again. Daniel is dead to the world, and Julian is a ghost in a golden cage. This is the harvest of a life built on shadows. We must remember that when we wear a mask for too long, our real face eventually disappears beneath it. Your life, however simple or quiet, is the only thing that truly belongs to you. Don't trade your soul for a reflection in a broken mirror. Thank you for walking through this field of karma with us today. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. We are preparing a brand new journey into the consequences of greed for our next episode, and you won't want to see what happens when the next seeds are sown. Until next time, keep your harvest honest.